76. Okay. Yeah, others, I would request to be on time. Those who are putting it to the chat box now. So let me start with sharing the screen. So the screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So since it's been a little gap, a week between, so let's have a quick recap of what we discussed in our previous lecture, so that it will act as a revision and you can recall all the things that we discussed. Okay. So we started off with the second module, right? And we discussed few list data types, and we also worked upon how list can be made use of, or the working of the lists, right? So when we talk about the working of the list, another important aspect is using loops with respect to the lists, right? The for loop, while loop. So we had an example of for loop, how a simple for loop would look like. So this was a simple for loop, right, which we discussed in the module one, that for I in a range print the I. So the range can have one value as the parameter, or two values, or three values, right? So what denotes that one, if there is only one value for the range, then it denotes that it is the end value or is the stopping value. When we have two values in the range, the first value denotes that it is the starting value, and the second value denotes that it is the stopping value or ending value. And if there are three value or there are three parameters for the function range, then the first value, as I said, will be the starting value, second will be the stopping value or ending value, and third will be the important factor, which is a stepping value. Stepping value basically gives us the interval in the range, right? So which example we already saw. But the point here is, if this simple range function for loop with which makes use of range function, this is the simple for loop. But if we want to make use of for loop in a list, right? Instead of giving a range one value, how do we make use of for loop in a list? So that simple code, the same code can be replaced with this code, wherein you can see here that instead of range, what we are giving is we are providing the whole list here, right? The list itself is declared there for I in the list. The list here is from 0 to 3, right? So it is as good as range 4. So range 4 and this list of 0, 1, 2, 3 is one and the same. So when you print or execute this for loop, you'll get the same output as the previous one. Now, there is one more term that you have to take care here, is because it is frequently used here in this book. That is the list like. List like basically is the term which is used to refer to the data types that are technically named sequences. Right? For example, here from 0, 1, 2, 3. So they are the data types that are technically named sequences. So whenever you encounter the term list like, you should remember like this. So let us have an understanding with a proper list. We talked about the list called supplies, and in that supplies list we have some list values, right? Or we can say items, the list items. So we have four items here, that is pens, staplers, flamethrowers, and binders, right? So when we make use of, let's say we want to print the index of these particular list values or list items, so for that we'll be making use of the for loop. Now in the for loop, for I in the range, as you can see, we are also making use of the length of the list supplies. Now whatever the length, for example here the length is 4, right? So the range of 4. 4 means the 4 will be the ending value here. So it will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, and when it encounters 4, it gets out of the loop. It executes, right? So this whole statement will be replaced with for I in range 4. Now print this statement. What is this statement? This statement is like index so and so in the list supplies is so and so, right? Now, what is this so and so? This is the simple example of a string concatenation as we discussed. That index plus the concatenation of the string in string of I. Here I is the index, right? Plus the string again in supplies is the concatenation of again the element or the item in the list supplies. So when we print this whole this code, this set of code or instructions, we get the following output. That is index 0 in supplies is pens, index 1 is staplers, and so on. Right? So this is index 1, this is index 2, sorry, this is index 0, index 1, index 2, and index 3. So this is a simple example of how a simple for loop, which makes use of range, can be used with reference to a list. Now, a simple in and not in operators we will discuss. In and not in are the operators which are used to compare a particular value with respect to the list. For example, if I want to search something in a list, then I will make use of in, right? If I want to know whether this particular key element, the list element or list value or item is present in a whole list, so I'll make use of the operator in here. And if I want to see whether that particular element is not there in the list, I'll simply use not in. So here is the simple example. Uh, I would request to those who are joining late, I would request to be on time because once I share the screen, I will not be able to see your request. Okay. So those who are joining late, please make sure that you join in the initial 5 minutes. I have given 5 minutes extra time. Anyways, so yeah, we were discussing in and not in operators. So if I want to compare a particular element, whether that particular element is in the list, I will simply use the operator in. And whether if I want to compare that a particular element is not in the list, and then I will make use of simple not in operator. Let us have a simple example of it. Let's say we have the list called a list which has few salutations. Let's say hi, hello, howdy, and hey, and I want to see whether howdy is in the list. So when I use this in operator, this in is the keyword here, right? This in is the predefined keyword. Uh, the in operator basically checks the string, the first string that we have that we want to search for in the list, and once it finds that particular element in the list, it returns a value, the boolean value true. Or if it is not there in the list, it's simply return false. Opposite, exactly opposite to it, when we make use of not in operator. Let's say if I give the same statement here, that is howdy, but instead of in, I'll just say not in and give the same list. So in that case, it will return me false because the howdy is actually present in the list. So not in becomes false. Right. So here is another example. Let's say we have a list spam which is assigned with these four salutations, and I want to check a item called cat in the list spam. Now, since it is not there, it will simply return me false. But in case if I make use of not in operator, right? Not in operator, like for example, howdy, not in spam, but howdy is actually there in the spam, right? It's there in the spam list. So that's why it will return me false. False because howdy is present in the spam. So I hope you got it, the simple example. Now let's look upon the multiple assignment tricks. So which you have already, I mean, we have already seen this, but let's just to recap. Let's say we have the list called cat, and we have assigned few characteristics, something, let's say a label to the list cat. The labels says fat, black, and loud, right? Or you can say these are the key list values or list items. Now size, we are making use of another variable called size, and which this variable size is assigned with the in zeroth index of the list cat, right? And the color is assigned with the first index of cat. and this position is assigned with the second index of the cat. So by default, the fat will be assigned to size, the black will be assigned to the color, and loud will be assigned to the disposition, right? And once we execute this, so single line, if you want to execute this in the simple single line, what we can make use of is the variables separated by comma, and we can assign the list itself, the name of the list, right? So here you can see the name of the list is cat with these labels, and what we are doing is we are simply declaring three variables in the single line separated by commas, and which is assigned to the list named cat is assigned to these variables. So this is a multiple assignment. So by default, the first or the zeroth index will assign to the first variable. The first element will be assigned to the second variable, and uh, the value or the index at the second index will be assigned to the third variable, and so on. And in case if there is a mismatch, if there is a mismatch of the number of elements and the number of variables, then it will definitely going to throw an error on us that the number of arguments or value are inappropriate, or there will be a value error. Right. So this is an example if we encounter a mismatch number of values, and here you can see we have assigned four variables, but the list actually contains only three labels. So it will throw us a value error showing that the need more than three values to unpack. Right. I hope you got this simple understanding, and these examples which you have already making use of in C as well as in C++, that augmented assignment operators. Now, what are these augmented assignment operators? These are the assignment operators which are used to usually increment a value, or increment the particular index, or anything might be uh, value stored in it or a particular value itself. For example, let's say we have a value 42 which is stored in the variable spam. And if we want to increase the the value stored in the spam, simply plus 1, and ultimately when we print, it gives us the updated value. This is the typical approach what we make use of. Now, to do the same task, we can make use of the augmented assignment. Now, here is the augmented assignment operator. As you can see, the same program, spam is equal to 42, spam plus equal to 1. So this whole thing is actually equivalent to this, right? So spam is equal to spam plus 1 can also be replaced or rewritten with spam plus equal to 1. And when we print the variable spam, we get the value 43. So it's a simple uh, augmented operation. Now, there are few set of augmented assignment statements and their equivalent assignment statement in this table. As you can see, that spam is equal to spam plus 1 can be replaced with this, and spam is equal to spam minus 1 can be replaced with this, that is spam minus equal to 1, and so on. Right? So, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and ultimately the remainder, you can see, modulus operator. So let's see an example. Let's say the hello world. If you remember the first program that we wrote using the string hello world, let's say instead of hello world, I just put hello in the variable spam, and then I want to increment this string hello to new string that is hello world. So I want to augment, I want to add the word called world. Right? So what I'll be doing, I'll be simply making use of the augmented assignment operator here, and spam plus equal to this whole thing. Please uh, focus here that this is actually a string, because we are quoting it into a single quotes. And you can see here there's a start of the single quote, there is space here, and then we have the actual content, that is world here, and then again closing with the single quote. So this defines that this is a string. Now these two strings will be concatenated or joined or augmented to print a single string called hello world. This is a simple example of how augmented assignment of statement can be used. Now, what are methods? As we discussed, methods, these are as good as the functions, right? They are same as functions, except that the methods are called on, right? They are called on a value. Now, the methods, let us understand with a example method like index, right? So how do we find a value or an item or a list value in particular list with the help of a method called index? Now, please note that this index method is only restricted to the concept of lists, right? So when you try to make use of this index method to any particular other strings or in general, it might not perform or it might throw you an error that this particular method is invalid or this particular method does not exist, something like that, right? So the index method will only be valid only when we are making use of lists, right? So let's say we have a list, the same list what we discussed just now. The spam is equal to hello, hi, howdy, and here. And we want to identify the index of a particular word or the particular list value or particular item, right? So as we discussed, how do we call a method? The method can be called by first calling the module or the name of the list and then the method name, right? So here is how a method should be called upon. So spam, which is the name of the list, and as I said that index method, these are the methods which are only applicable when we are making use of the list. So first you have to define the list name followed by a dot operator and then the name of the index and then you can pass the value that we want to operate with. So let's say I want to find out the index of the value or the item called hello. So it will simply, since the hello is at the zeroth index, it will simply return me the value 0. Now this 0 denotes the index on which the item hello is residing in the list spam. So and similarly, so when we here is a simple example of what to be avoided. That let's say we give the same word but repeated times. Now, since as you can clearly see, we do have a word called howdy in our list, but it this whole thing is into a single string. This whole thing is a single string, right? So because as you can see, there is a single here is a single operator. You can see that it has been enclosed a single quote into a single quote. So this will treat the Python programming language will treat this whole thing as a single string or one value or one element, right? So it will try to search this whole thing into the list, but since it is not there, this whole thing is not there in the list, it will show you the error that it is not in the list. But we have only a single value of howdy and not the three repeated value. So this is the care that you have to take. Now, how do we add or insert few values in the list? Let's say we have predefined a list called spam, which has the values cat, dog, and bat. But I want to add a value. So there are two ways to add it. Two ways to add a particular value or item into the list. Now, one is the append, another is the insert method. Now, append. Now, what is the difference between these two? Right? Append is basically used to add a particular value if you want to add that value in the end of the list, right? So basically, if you just want to remember append, what is the difference between an append and insert? Let's say append means apply in the end. So whatever value that you supply with the in the method append, it will automatically be augmented or added in the end of the list, right? At the end of the list. But when you make use of insert method, insert can be used to add a particular value anywhere in the list, not just in the end. It can be even in the beginning of the list or in between the list or at the end of the list. So I hope you got the difference here. Let's understand with an example that spam is equal to the list called a list wherein we have values like cat, dog, and bat. And I want to add another element or another value called moose. So when I make use of append, it will automatically add the moves in the end of the list, and I will have this list as the updated list, right? But if I make use of insert method, insert will help me to add any value, anything in between the list or in the starting of the list or even in the end of the list. But in order to do that, I have to specifically mention to the insert method that where do I have to add this new element. So that is the reason why insert take two parameters. First one being the index where I have to add that new value, and second is the new value itself. So let's say we take the same list that spam is equal to cat, dog, and bat, and I want to insert a new value called chicken. But since insert will ask me where do I have to insert this new value, I have to specifically explicitly mention the index where I have to add this new value. So let's say I give 1. So at the index 1, the new value will be added, and this will be my new updated list. So cat, chicken is the new value added here, and followed by the as previous list, which are dog and bite, and the bat. Right. So I hope you got the point here. So here is the example of what should be avoided or what you shouldn't do. As you can see that here is another variable called, let's say, x, which is assigned with this statement or a string called hello. And we are trying to append the word world to the egg. Right. Now egg contains only hello string, right? And we are trying to append the another string called word to the previous value. Now since as I said that the append method and insert method are only applicable for the lists, and this the first example what you see here, that x is equal to hello, this is not a list, right? This is a simple assignment of a string operator, the string, right? So it will eventually throw you error that this string object has no attribute append, because append is only applicable for the list, right? And here is another example of a insert. Same example, let's say bacon is equal to 42, and we are trying to insert world to 42. So ideally speaking, the output should be 42 world, but since insert is only applicable on list, this particular instruction stands invalid, and eventually we'll have an error saying that object has no attribute insert. Had it been this as a list, we would have got the right output. Now, the simple example of remove method. Remove is another method which is used to remove the values, as the name suggests, right? So, whatever value that you want to remove, you can specifically mention the value inside the remove method, and the value will be removed as you get the updated list. And if you mention any specific value which is not in the list, of course, we're going to get the error that this particular value is not in the list. In case if you have multiple values or multiple items in the list, in the whole list, for example, if you see here that we have three cat, right? Three cats in the same list called spam. We have cat as on the 0th index, followed by bat, rat, again cat, then hat, and ultimately in the end again cat. So we have three cats. In this case, when we use the remove method to remove our values, let's say cat, then in that case only the first value, the first element that the method remove encounters will be removed, and other values will be retrieved as it is. Right. So as you can see here that the zeroth index value cat is removed, but the value or the item at the third index and fifth index are retrieved as it is. So remove will only make sure that the the remove operation is done only once. If you, in case if you have only multiple values. Now the simple example of sort method. Sort, as the name suggests, it sorts the values. It sorts the numerical values. It sorts the alphabetical values. And for numerical values, it sorts from the smallest to largest number. Let's say if we have negative number as well, it starts with the negative number and so on till the biggest number. In case of alphabets, it starts with the sorting the values of the keywords in the alphabetical order. Now, in case in the alphabetical order, let's say we have uh, elements or items in the list, which are few are small case letter, few are uppercase letter, right? So in that case, the first element which will be sorted according to the sort element will be the alphabetical order in the alphabetical order, but capital letters which will be capital letter elements will be sorted first and then followed by the small letter keys. So here is a simple example what you see, that we have a list called spam wherein we have two keys, key elements or items starting with A. One is the capital A letter and second is the small a letter, lowercase. So in that case, all the capital letter words will be sorted first and then the small letters. In case if you sort the numerical as well as the the characters or a string, then it will show you error that it is unorderable types, because we are trying to sort two different data types, right? And let's say we want to sort it into the reverse order. So simply passing the parameter that reverse is equal to true will help us to sort the complete list into the reverse order. So what we are trying to do here is we are trying to sort the complete list into in the reverse order by simply saying to the program that reverse is true, reverse is equal to true, right? Now let us understand this whole thing, whatever we discussed so far, this whole thing with an example of what we have already seen. So you can open your Python ideally and open your program, the program that we discussed in our previous lecture, that is uh, Magic 8 Ball, right? So let me open the program Magic 8 Ball. So yeah, so this was the reason why I repeatedly asked you to save the files, because we will be making use of the examples which we have already seen in our previous lectures to understand the new concepts as in when they start the upcoming new concepts, the new concepts that we learn, because only then we will be able to find the difference or understand the difference of what was the previous method that we have used and what is the new method, how the new method is different from the previous one, right? So I hope you have opened your Magic 8 Ball program. In case if you are making use of the mobile also, that is fine. I have already suggested you to make use of the mobile version of the Python ideally. Let it be Android version or iOS, anyhow that you comfortable with. But make sure that you are in touch with these programmings and you save your files, because these will be your assignments later. Okay, moving on. So this was the Magic 8 Ball Python program that we discussed when we were discussing about the if, if else and elif statements, right? Conditional statements. So this was the program that we saw. We simply imported the random module and we defined a function called getAnswer. Now getAnswer was used to get a particular message kind of thing or a comment after generating a random number. Let's say every random number is generated from 1 to 9, and for every number that is generated, we have a predefined message assigned to it, and our random function, right, which is the rand int function, whichever the number it generates randomly selects, the corresponding comment or corresponding message was outputted on the terminal or as the result of this program. So we made use of the if simple if else and elif statements. So if answer is equal to 1, return it is certain. Elif, if answer is equal to 2, return it is decidedly so. If answer is 3, yes. If answer is 4, reply easy, try again, and so on, right? So what is this answer number? This answer number is actually the random number which is selected by our function random, and we were storing that random answer number into the variable called r, and we are supplying that value of r to the function get answer, which is this, right? Now once it is applied, that answer is stored in the fortune, and fortune is actually whatever the statement that the corresponding statement assigned to that random number, and ultimately we get the comment or this particular message or this particular statement printed on the terminal. So this was the program that we saw. Now the question is, how do we incorporate, uh, how do we make use of this same program by making use of lists, right? So this is a perfect example wherein we can make use of a list, we can define a list, and then we can execute the same thing. So the output will be same, but the only way, the approach to do it will be different, because here, as you can see, we are repeatedly making use of the elif statement. So there is a lot of redundancy. The code is getting extended. A lot of repetitions in the code. The code size is more. So let's say if you want to reduce the number of lines of the code, we want to reduce the redundancy factor, we can simply make use of the list here. Now, I hope you already understood that what are the things that we can put it in the list, right? So these messages, these comments, we can put it into the list, right? So let's say I name a list called messages, and I'll put all these messages or comments into that list called messages, and I will use this same random function to generate a random number and then print these messages. So let me open the program, the same magic 8-ball program with the help of a list. Now you can clearly see that how my code has been reduced, right? So this is my previous code. What you see that using the if else uh, conditional statements, and here is my new list, which is the new program which is made using making use of the concept of lists. So as you can see, the number of lines, I'm able to reduce the number of lines here, the code size, the redundancy factor of the repetition of if else statement, and instead of that I'm simply making use of the list. Now this whole thing is my list, right? I have created a list called messages. Inside that I have put all the messages, these messages which are in green. So you can clearly make it out which code is where in this new code, right? So in order to make use of the rand int function, this is actually a function inside the module random. If I want to make use of the rand int function provided by the module random, I have to import the module random. So I'm importing the random module, and I am defining the list, and ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to print that message. Now how do we get this message from this list, right? So the random function, whatever the value it's generated, first of all, it has to be given a range. In what range it has to generate the random number. So starting with 0. Now you can spot the difference that it is 0 here, whereas in our previous case it was 1. Right, so you can see here it was 1 to 9. But in the new case, in our case here, it is actually 0. It starts with 0 to the length of the message. Now, why 0? Because by default, the list starts storing the values in index wise, and index start with 0. So the first message, that is, it is certain, will be stored at index 0. Whereas in the if else, we can see that we have assigned it as the number 1. So when we encounter number 1, the same message, that is, it is certain, is printed. So that is the reason we start with 0 here. Now we start with 0, but we go on up till the length of our list. Now length of our list is, let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we have 9 messages in our list. But since we are starting off with the index 0, we have to reduce one value, and that's why 0 to length of messages minus 1. So this will in turn be 0 to 8. So instead of 1 to 9, which was in our previous program, here it will be from 0 to 8, which is one and same. So a random number will be generated from 0 to 8 by the random.randint function, and that random message will be taken, that number will be checked with the index in the list messages, and that message in the list message will be printed. So I hope you got it. The task done by both these two programs are same, but the only difference is first, in the first program we saw how do we make use of a simple if-else statement, and in the second program we saw how a code can be reduced by making use of the lists. So let me execute this and show you how do we operate. So let's say I press F5 or run. You can see a simple random function. The random statement is outputted. That is Outlook not so good, which is actually uh, seventh in the message stored at the seventh index. Outlook not so good. So next time when I execute it, let's say I execute it once again, and it says ask again later. So you can see that it is actually random value whichever is generated. See, my reply is no. So it will go on unless and until, I mean, few values might get repeated because they are randomly selected. So that's not a problem. As you can see, as you can see here, the random messages are getting generated. So that's how a program of a simple if-else condition can be replaced with a list. So I hope you got the importance of a list, how a list can be made use of, when to use list, when not to use lists, right? There will be some cases wherein a simple if-else condition, uh, like a simple if-else program, like this program, will come more handy than a list. So that depends situation to situation. But overall, you can see that the line of code is reduced when we make use of the lists. I hope you got the point here. If you still have any doubts, I've made sure that I've slow in pace so that things are crystal clear. But still, if you have any doubt, you can put it in the chat box or you can ask me. You can unmute your mic and ask. Any part of the lecture which you have not understand, we can revert back to it and we can understand it in more depth. Anybody? Yeah, please reply. Anybody having any doubt? Anybody want me to explain once again about any particular concept that we discussed? Yeah, please reply, because unless and until you acknowledge or tell us, I will not understand whether you have understood or not. I've been really slow enough because these are the basic factors, these are the fundamentals. And if we don't understand this into depth and we simply proceed ahead, then the further concepts will be a nightmare, right? So without fundamentals, we cannot move ahead. So I want you to be very clear with these concepts, with these fundamentals, and that is the reason I'm moving a little slow and repeatedly asking you whether you have any doubts. So please, still, if you have any doubts, you can put it in the chat box. Yeah, anybody. I'm waiting for the reply. Yeah, anybody, please reply. Before me selecting individually, please voluntarily reply whether you have understood, not understood. We still have time. We can discuss again. Okay, Omkar coach is understood. Ikit is understood. So these are the same faces. What I see that they are the only people who are messaging that they have understood. I am not pretty sure about the others, but uh, I mean, we cannot be more slower. I cannot be more slower than this. That these are the very basic things, and I've made sure that I've revisited every topic, so that even if you have missed in any of the lecture, this will be covered here. So those who are not working, those the guys who are not working on it, those who are not regular in the class, I would request them to be back on track, because the IAs are nearing up, and don't burden yourself at the end. Instead, complete the work on daily basis, so that you will have enough time before the eye, just before the eye, to revisit those things and perform your revision, instead of learning of fresh new concepts during the time of the eye. And regarding assignments, I would like to like you can take 3 more days, maybe Monday or Tuesday. So preferably Monday, you can submit the assignment. Uh, you can just simply I'll circulate your Google form, or you can simply attach it in the classroom, Google Classroom. We have the Google Classroom, right? So you can simply attach there. You can scan your assignment, and you can create a PDF with your name and USN, and that can be submitted in your Google Classroom, right? So apart from that, if you have any kind of doubt, anything that you want to understand or uh, get the clarification, you can ask me anytime. And as in the previous class, in the first lecture, Professor Professor Pavan Gade sir has mentioned you that there is slight change in the roles in the departments, right? So Professor Suhas Anmore will be taking over as the head of department, and Pavan Ugade sir will be the class teacher for third semester, and I'll be the class teacher for you guys for the fifth semester. So anything that you have any queries with respect to that, you can ask me anytime. Okay, so I hope if we can conclude the lecture today. If you don't have any doubt, you can leave the lecture. Thank you.